The ships came on a Tuesday morning. Yuna was drinking coffee in her apartment in Seoul when the sky turned dark. She looked up and saw metal shapes blocking the sun. They were bigger than buildings, bigger than mountains. They filled the sky from one end to the other. She did not scream. She did not run. She was a soldier. She had trained for war her whole adult life. But she had never trained for this. The beams of light came down like rain. Everywhere they touched, people disappeared. Yuna watched her neighbors vanish. She watched cars on the street below become empty. She grabbed her phone and called her brother Taiho. He was only 20 years old. He was still in university. He was all the family she had left. "Stay inside," she told him. "I am coming to get you." She never made it. The light found her on the street. One moment she was running. The next moment she was somewhere else. The holding cells were cold. The walls were made of something that looked like glass but felt like stone. Yuna counted 47 other humans in her cell. They came from everywhere. Korea, Japan, America, Brazil, Nigeria. None of them knew what was happening. All of them were afraid. Creatures came on the third day. Yuna had seen strange things in her life. She had seen combat. She had seen death. But she had never seen anything like the Valkyrie. They stood 9 feet tall. Their skin was covered in scales that changed color when light touched them. Their eyes were yellow with black slits in the middle. Their hands had 4 fingers, and each finger ended in a claw as long as a knife. They looked at the humans the way a farmer looks at pigs. The Valkyrie did not speak to them. They spoke about them. Yuna listened carefully. She had always been good with languages. Within a week, she began to understand their words. "Good stock from the third planet," one Valkyrie said to another. "Strong bodies. Simple minds. They will fetch good prices. The young ones are better for labor," the second one replied. "The old ones can be used for testing." Yuna felt her hands become fists. But she did not move. She did not speak. She watched. She waited. She learned. The processing station was on a moon. Yuna could see a giant planet through the windows. It was purple and red, with storms as big as Earth spinning across its surface. She did not know how far from home she was. She only knew she could not see the sun anymore. They separated the humans into groups. Men in one line, women in another, children in a third. Yuna saw her brother across the room. Taiho saw her too. His face was pale. His eyes were red from crying. He tried to walk toward her, but a Valkyrie guard pushed him back. "Yuna!" he shouted. "Yuna, please." She took 1 step forward. A claw pressed against her chest. The Valkyrie guard looked down at her. His eyes showed nothing. No anger, no cruelty. Just nothing. She was not a person to him. She was a thing. "Move again," the guard said, "and I will remove your legs." Yuna did not move. She watched her brother disappear through a door. She did not know where they were taking him. She did not know if she would ever see him again. The auction happened 3 days later. Yuna stood on a platform with 20 other humans. Bright lights shone in their faces. Below them, hundreds of Valkyries sat in comfortable chairs. They wore expensive clothes. They carried drinks in crystal glasses. They laughed and talked while humans were sold like furniture. A Valkyrie with a loud voice announced each human. He talked about their age, their weight, their health. He called them specimens and units and stock. Never people. Never humans. When it was Yuna's turn, the announcer made a special note. "This one has military training," he said. "Very rare. Very valuable. She will make an excellent guard animal or entertainment fighter. Bidding starts at 3,000 credits." The Valkyrie raised their hands. The numbers went up. 3,000, 5,000, 8,000. The winner was a large Valkyrie with dark purple scales. His name was Lord Drothus, and he owned an estate larger than most cities. Drothus looked at Una with curious eyes. "A soldier," he said. "How interesting. You will make a fine addition to my collection." Una said nothing, but inside she made a promise. She would find her brother. She would get free. And she would make these creatures understand that humans were not pets. The transport to Drothus's estate took 2 days. Una sat in a cage with 7 other humans. There was an old man named Do-yoon who spoke Korean. He had been a professor before the invasion. He had been a slave for 3 years now. "They think we are animals," Do-yoon whispered to her. "They believe we have no souls, no intelligence, no worth. Then they are fools," Una whispered back. Do-yoon smiled sadly. "Yes, but they are fools with weapons and ships and power. What do we have?" Una looked at her hands. Small hands. Human hands. No claws. No scales. No weapons. "We have patience," she said. "We have each other. And we have something they do not understand." "What is that?" Una looked at the bars of her cage. She looked at the Valkyrie guards, who ignored her like she was nothing. "We remember," she said. "And we never forgive." 6 months passed on the estate of Lord Drothus. Una learned many things in those months. She learned that the Valkyrie Empire had ruled the stars for 3,000 years. She learned that they had conquered hundreds of worlds and enslaved dozens of species. She learned that humans were not the first. They were simply the newest dot. She also learned how to survive. The work was hard. Una cleaned floors. She carried heavy boxes. She served food to Valkyrie nobles who never looked at her face. Her body hurt every night. But she did not complain. She did not cry. She watched. She listened. She planned. The other human slaves began to trust her. There were 147 of them on the estate. They came from many countries. They spoke many languages. But they were all human, and that was enough. GA was one of the first to approach her. She was a small woman with tired eyes. She had been an engineer back on Earth. Now she fixed broken machines in the basement of the estate. "I have learned how their technology works," GA whispered one night. "Their computers, their weapons, their locks. They are not so complicated. Can you break them?" Una asked. "Yes, but I need time. And I need help." Una nodded. "You will have both." Do-yoon became another ally. The old professor had survived 3 years in captivity. He knew things that other slaves did not know. He knew which guards were cruel and which were lazy. He knew where the cameras were blind. He knew how to move through the estate without being seen. "They have made a mistake," Do-yoon told Una one evening. "They treat us all the same. They do not know that you are a soldier. They do not know that GA is an engineer. They see only animals. Their mistake will be their death," Una said. "The gravity on this world was lighter than Earth. At first, this made the humans feel weak and dizzy. But Una noticed something strange. After a few months, the low gravity began to help them. They could jump higher. They could move faster. They could run longer without getting tired. The Valkyrie did not notice. They never watched the humans carefully. Why would they? Animals did not need watching. Una also discovered something about the Valkyrie healing machines. The technology was designed for Valkyrie bodies. It was supposed to heal injuries slowly and carefully. But human bodies were different. Human bodies healed faster. Much faster. One day, a human worker named Bora cut her hand on broken glass. The wound was deep and bloody. A Valkyrie medic put her in the healing machine for 30 minutes. When Bora came out, her hand was completely healed. Not even a scar remained. The Valkyrie medic stared at her hand with surprise. But then he shrugged and walked away. He did not report it. He did not think it was important. Una thought it was very important. The son of Lord Drothus was named Kelthar. He was young for a Valkyrie, only about 100 years old. He was also cruel in ways his father was not. His father saw humans as property. Kelthar saw them as toys. He liked to make humans fight each other for his entertainment. He liked to take their food and watch them go hungry. He liked to pick one human every week and hurt them for no reason at all. He called the humans hairless apes and earth cattle. He laughed when they cried. He smiled when they begged. Una watched him carefully. She memorized his habits. She studied his weaknesses. She noticed that he was arrogant. He never expected danger. He never thought a human could hurt him. One night, Kelthar came to the slave quarters with 2 guards. He was looking for entertainment. His yellow eyes moved across the humans until they stopped on a young girl named Sujin. Sujin was 16 years old. She had been captured with her parents, but they had been sold to different masters. She was alone in the universe. She cried every night. Kel Thor pointed one long claw at her. "That one," he said. "Bring her to the banquet hall. My guest needs something to watch." The guards grabbed Sujin. She screamed and tried to pull away, but she was small and weak. The guards were big and strong. They dragged her toward the door. Una felt something cold settle in her chest. It was not fear. It was not anger. It was something deeper, something older, something that had been sleeping inside her for 6 months. She looked at Do-hyun. The old man nodded slowly. She looked at Ji-ae. The engineer's eyes were hard. Tonight, Una thought. It happens tonight. She followed the guards to the banquet hall. She picked up a serving tray. She walked through the doors like she had done 1,000 times before. No one noticed her. No one ever noticed the slaves. The hall was full of Valkyrie nobles. They wore clothes made of silk and gold. They drank expensive wine. They laughed at jokes. Una could not hear Dot at the front of the room. Kelthar stood on a small stage. He held Sujin by the arm. The girl was crying. Her whole body was shaking. "My friends," Kelthar announced, "tonight I will show you how to properly train earth cattle. They must learn to obey. They must learn to fear." He raised his claw. The nobles leaned forward with excitement. Una put down her tray. She walked toward the stage. Her heart was steady. Her mind was clear. Kelthar saw her coming. He smiled with amusement. "Look," he said. "Another one wants to play." Una stopped at the edge of the stage. She looked up at him. He was 9 feet tall. She was barely 5.5 feet. He had claws like knives. She had nothing but her hands. "Touch her," Una said in perfect Valkyrie, "and I will kill you." The room became very quiet. Then everyone started laughing. The sound filled the hall like thunder. A human threatening a Valkyrie warrior? It was the funniest thing they had ever heard. Kelthar laughed loudest of all. He pushed Sujin aside and stepped toward Una. His claws extended to their full length. 8 inches of razor-sharp bone. They could cut through metal like paper. "The cattle speaks," he said. "How entertaining. Perhaps I will discipline you instead." Una did not move. She did not blink. She just waited. Somewhere in the basement, Jihee's hand was on a switch. Somewhere in the slave quarters, Do-hyun was unlocking doors. The breaking point had arrived. Kelthar attacked first. He was fast for his size. His claw cut through the air like a blade. It was meant to open Una from shoulder to hip. It was meant to kill her in one strike. But Una was not there. She dropped low and slid to the side. The low gravity helped her move faster than any Valkyrie had ever seen a human move. Kelther's claw cut through empty air. For one moment, he was off balance. For one moment, his arm was extended too far. One moment was all Una needed. She grabbed his wrist with both hands. She planted her feet against his chest. And she pulled. She pulled with every muscle in her body. She pulled with every drop of anger she had saved for 6 months. She pulled with the memory of her brother's face as they dragged him away. The sound was horrible. It was like breaking a chicken bone, but louder. Much louder. Kelther's claw separated from his hand. Not just the nail. The whole first joint of his finger came off in her grip. Purple blood sprayed across the floor. Kelther screamed. It was a high, terrible sound that echoed off the walls. He fell to his knees, holding his ruined hand. Una stood over him. She held his claw in her hand like a trophy. Purple blood dripped from it onto the white marble floor. The nobles stopped laughing. The whole room was silent. Every yellow eye stared at the small human woman holding the severe claw of Lord Drothus's son. "You call this animals," Una said. Her voice was calm and clear. "You were right. Animals fight back." Then the lights went out. GA had done her job. Every light in the estate died at once. The Valkyrie could see in the dark, but not well. Their eyes were made for bright sunlight. In complete darkness, they were almost blind. Humans were different. Humans had hunted at night for 1,000,000 years. Their eyes adjusted in seconds. The screaming started. Dohyun had unlocked every door in the slave quarters. 147 humans poured into the estate. They carried knives from the kitchen. They carried tools from the garden. They carried broken pieces of furniture. They carried anything that could be used as a weapon. The Valkyrie guards tried to fight back. They fired their weapons into the darkness, but they could not see their targets. They hit each other more often than they hit humans. Una moved through the banquet hall like a ghost. She had trained for close combat her entire adult life. She had fought in dark buildings before. She knew how to kill without making a sound. One guard fell with his own claw in his neck. Another fell when Una broke his knee and then his skull. A third tried to run, but Minseo caught him at the door. Minseo was only 19 years old. He had been a university student before the invasion. Now he fought like he had nothing to lose. Because he did have nothing to lose. Everything he loved was already gone. For Earth, he shouted as he drove a kitchen knife into the guard's throat. Other humans took up the cry. For Earth. For Earth. The words echoed through the dark halls of the estate. Lord Drothus hid in his panic room. He was old and weak and scared. He had never expected this. In 3,000 years of empire, no slaves had ever risen against their masters. It was unthinkable. It was impossible. But it was happening. The battle lasted until dawn. When the sun finally rose over the estate, the humans counted their dead. 12 had fallen. 12 names that Una swore she would never forget. The Valkyrie losses were much higher. More than 200 guards and servants lay dead in the halls. The nobles who had laughed at Una just hours ago were now locked in their own cages. Una walked through the silent estate. Her clothes were covered in purple blood. Her hands were sore from fighting. But she was alive. Her people were alive. GA ran up to her with excitement in her eyes. "We found their communication room," she said. "We can send messages to other estates. We can talk to other slaves." "Not yet," Una said. "First we must prepare. The Empire will send soldiers. They will come to crush us." Dohan joined them. The old professor was limping. A Valkyrie claw had cut his leg during the fighting. But he was smiling. "Let them come," he said. "Let them see what humans can do." Una looked at the claw still hanging from her belt. Kelther's claw. The first trophy of the first victory. They think this was luck, she said. They think we surprised them. They do not understand yet. Understand what? GA asked. That we are not prey, Una said. We are predators. And the hunt has only begun. She walked to the main balcony of the estate. Below her, the surviving humans had gathered. They looked up at her with hope in their eyes. For the first time since the invasion, they had hope. Today we are free, Una called down to them. Today we prove that we are not cattle. We are not pets. We are human. A cheer rose from the crowd. It was a sound that had not been heard on this world in 3,000 years. The sound of slaves becoming free. But our work is not done, Una continued. Our brothers and sisters are still in chains across this empire. We will find them. We will free them. And we will make these creatures remember our names forever. Another cheer. Louder this time. Una looked at the purple sun rising over the alien horizon. Somewhere out there, her brother Taiho was waiting. She would find him. No matter how long it took. No matter how many Velkari she had to kill, she would find him. Lord Drothus sat in his cage and shook with fear. His scales had turned pale. His yellow eyes were wide. He watched the humans walk past his prison and could not believe what he was seeing. For 3,000 years, his family had owned slaves. His grandfather had owned slaves. His grandfather's grandfather had owned slaves. It was the natural order of things. The strong ruled. The weak served. That was how the universe worked out. But now the weak were walking free, and the strong were in cages. Una stood outside his cell. She looked at him without anger, without hatred. She just looked. You will die for this, Drothus whispered. The Empire will send a fleet. They will burn this estate to ash. They will kill every human on this world. Perhaps, Una said, but not today. She walked away. There was too much work to do. GA had taken control of the communication room. She had spent hours learning the Volcari systems. Now she could read their messages. She could hear their voices. She could see their secrets. We have a problem, GA said when Una arrived. Drothus sent a distress signal before we captured him. A warship is coming. How big? A battle cruiser. The Velkari call it the Iron Fist. It carries 2,000 soldiers. Una was quiet for a moment. 2,000 soldiers. She had 135 humans left. Many of them were old. Many of them were sick. Many of them had never held a weapon before last night. How long do we have? She asked. 2 days. Minseo was standing nearby. His face became pale. We cannot fight 2,000 soldiers, he said. We should run. Hide in the wilderness. Maybe find a ship. They will hunt us down, Dalyun said. The old man was sitting in a corner with his injured leg wrapped in bandages. Their sensors can track human bodies from space. There is nowhere to run. Una looked around the room. She saw fear in the eyes of her people. She saw doubt. She saw the beginning of despair, that she could not let them feel these things. Not now. Not ever. We are not running, she said. We are going to fight. How? Minseo asked. They have weapons that can destroy cities. We have kitchen knives. Una smiled. It was a cold smile. A dangerous smile. We have 2 days, she said. In 2 days, we will turn this estate into a trap. We will use their technology against them. And we will teach them to fear the name human. The work began immediately. Every human had a job. Some built walls. Some dug trenches. Some learned to use the Velkari weapons they had captured. GA made the most important discovery on the first day. She was testing a Velkari targeting system when something strange happened. She connected the system to a human volunteer. The machine was supposed to help aim weapons. It was designed to work with Volkari brains. But when the human volunteer used it, the machine worked better. Much better. Their technology cannot keep up with human reflexes, GA explained. Their brains work slowly, carefully. Our brains work fast, wild, unpredictable. Their machines were not built for us. Yuna understood immediately. So we can aim faster than them? We can do everything faster than them. Move, react, decide. Their computers think they are connected to slow Valkyrie brains. When they meet human brains, they go crazy trying to keep up. This was their advantage. This was how 135 humans could fight 2,000 Valkyrie. On the second day, the sky grew dark. Yuna stood on the balcony and watched the battlecruiser descend through the clouds. It was huge, a mountain of metal that blotted out the sun. Weapons covered every surface. The ship landed in the fields outside the estate. The ground shook under its weight. A door opened, and soldiers began marching out. Row after row of Valkyrie warriors in black armor. Their claws gleamed in the purple sunlight. Dot at the front of the army was a female Valkyrie in red armor. She was tall even for her kind. Her scales were dark green. Her eyes were cold. She was Commander Velnok. She had crushed rebellions on 20 worlds. She had killed millions of slaves without mercy. She thought this job would take less than an hour. She was wrong. The humans let the Valkyrie come close. They let them enter the outer gardens. They let them feel confident and safe. Then the traps began. Explosions ripped through the front lines. Valkyrie soldiers flew through the air. They had not expected bombs. Slaves did not know how to make bombs. But Gia knew. She had built them from materials in the estate. Simple bombs. Effective bombs. The Valkyrie charged forward. More explosions, more death. But still they came. They were too angry to think. They were too proud to retreat. They reached the main building. They broke through the doors. They found empty rooms and dark hallways. The humans were waiting in the shadows. What happened next was not a battle. It was a nightmare. The humans attacked from every direction. They came from the ceiling. They came from the floor. They came from inside walls. The Valkyrie weapons were useless in close combat. The hallways were too narrow. The rooms were too small. And the humans moved too fast. Yuna found Commander Velnok near the center of the building. The commander had lost half her soldiers. Her beautiful red armor was covered in purple blood. "What are you?" Velnok whispered. "What kind of creatures are you?" Yuna held a Valkyrie blade in her hand. She had taken it from a dead soldier. "We are human," she said. "And we are your worst nightmare." The battle lasted 6 hours. When it was over, the battlecruiser Iron Fist belonged to the humans. 2,000 Valkyrie soldiers lay dead in the gardens and halls of the estate. The humans lost 32 of their own. 32 heroes. 32 names that would be remembered forever. GA connected the estate's communication systems to every channel in the Empire. Every world. Every station. Every ship. Yuna stood in front of the camera. Behind her, the captured battlecruiser rose into the sky, piloted by humans for the first time. "We are not cattle," she said. Her voice went out to 1,000,000,000 ears. "We are not pets. We are not slaves. We are human. And we are coming for our people." She held up Kelther's claw. "This is our promise. Free our brothers and sisters. Or we will take them ourselves." The message ended. But its echo would travel across the stars for years to come. The revolution had begun. The message spread like fire. On a mining world called Kethros, human slaves heard Yuna's voice. They looked at each other with new eyes. That night, they killed their overseers and took control of the mines. On a pleasure station orbiting a dead star, human servants saw the broadcast. They poisoned their master's food. By morning, the station belonged to them. On 100 worlds and 1,000 estates, human slaves began to wake up. They began to remember that they were not animals. They were people, and people could fight. The Valkyrie Empire responded with panic. Emergency meetings were held on the capital world. Generals shouted at each other. Politicians pointed fingers. Nobody knew what to do. This had never happened before. In 3,000 years of empire, no slave species had ever risen up like this. They called Una the Claw Taker. They put a price on her head worth more than entire planets. They sent hunters across the stars to find her, but Una was already moving. She took 30 volunteers and boarded the captured battlecruiser. The ship was damaged from the battle, but GA had repaired it enough to fly. They renamed it Hope. It was the first human starship. "Where do we go first?" Menzeo asked. He stood beside Una on the bridge. His eyes were bright with excitement. He was young, but the battle had made him older. "We go to find my brother," Una said, "and every other human they stole from us." Dohyun had found information in the Valkyrie computers. He knew where the captured humans had been sent after the processing station. Most had been sold to estates like Drothus's, but some had been sent somewhere else, somewhere secret. "They call it the Deep Pens," Dohyun explained. "It is a prison on a world with no sun. They send the troublemakers there, the fighters, the ones they cannot control." "My brother was a university student," Una said. "Why would they send him there?" Dohyun looked at her with sad eyes. "Because he fought back. The records say he killed a guard on the transport ship. They marked him as dangerous." Una felt something warm in her chest. Her brother. Her quiet, gentle brother. He had fought back. He had not given up. She would find him. She would bring him home. The journey to the Deep Pens took 3 weeks. During that time, Una trained her crew. She taught them how to fight, how to shoot, how to kill. She was hard on them. She was demanding. But she was fair. GA worked on the ship systems. She made them faster, stronger, more powerful. The Valkyrie technology was good, but GA made it better. She made it human. The Deep Pens was a terrible place. The prison was built inside a frozen moon. There was no light. There was no heat. Thousands of slaves from dozens of species lived in the darkness. They worked in mines that went down forever. They ate food that barely kept them alive. They died slowly, one day at a time. The guards expected no trouble. Nobody ever came to the Deep Pens. Nobody ever left. They did not expect a human battlecruiser to appear in their sky. The attack was fast and brutal. Una had learned from the battle at the estate. She knew how to use surprise. She knew how to make the Valkyrie afraid. The guards surrendered within 2 hours. They fell to their knees and begged for mercy. These were not proud warriors. These were cowards who had spent years hurting helpless prisoners. Una gave them the same mercy they had given their slaves. None. The prisoners came out of the darkness slowly. They were thin. They were sick. They were broken. But when they saw the humans standing in the light, something changed in their eyes. "Who are you?" a prisoner asked. She was from a species Una had never seen before. Her skin was blue. Her eyes were silver. Her body was covered in scars. "I am Una," Una said. "I am human, and I am here to set you free." The blue-skinned woman fell to her knees. She was crying. "We thought no one would ever come. We thought we would die here in the dark." "Not today," Una said. "Today you live. Today we all live." They found Taiho in the deepest level of the prison. He was locked in a cell by himself. The guards had marked him as extremely dangerous. They had beaten him many times. They had starved him. They had tried to break his spirit. They had failed. When Una opened his cell, Taiho looked up at her. His face was thin. His body was covered in wounds. But his eyes were the same, bright, warm, full of love. "Sister," he whispered. You came. Yuna pulled him into her arms. She held him tight. She did not cry. She had not cried since the day of the invasion. But something inside her broke a little. Something good. I told you I would find you, she said. I promised. Taiho laughed. It was a weak sound, but it was real. I knew you would. I told everyone. I told them my sister would come. She is a soldier. She is the strongest person I know. She will never stop fighting. Yuna helped him stand. They walked together out of the darkness and into the light. On the bridge of the Hope, the freed prisoners looked out at the stars. For the first time in years, they were not slaves. They were people. They were free. GA brought Yuna a report. The Empire is moving its human slaves to high-security locations. They are trying to hide them from us. Good, Yuna said. That means they are afraid. Do-hyun laughed. 3,000 years of empire. And they are scared of us. Scared of hairless apes from a little blue planet. They should be scared, Taiho said. He was still weak, but he was getting stronger every day. They thought they were taking animals. They did not know they were taking wolves. Yuna looked at her people. Humans and aliens standing together. Freed slaves who had become warriors. A small army that would grow larger with every world they liberated. The Empire had made a terrible mistake. They had underestimated humanity. They had looked at humans and seen only small, soft, clawless creatures. They had not seen the fire inside, the stubbornness, the endless burning need to survive. Set a course for the next slave world, Yuna ordered. We have brothers and sisters to save. The Hope turned toward the stars. Behind them, the deep pens burned. Ahead of them, an empire waited to fall. The hunt had begun. And humanity would not stop until every chain was broken. This was just the beginning. The end of part 1.